लगाया गया है इससे खत्म कर दिया, यही मेरा आपसे निवेदन है। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर प्लीज।
So thank you very much, sir. I thank all the members who have gone into great detail in speaking about the issue. In fact, I would like to start by saying I'm indeed happy to be able to stand up here and give the reply for this debate. And actually, I've been, but for the COVID which hit me, I would have been here the first day when the debate should have started. And from my party and from the government, I would like to assure every member in this House that debates, particularly on such topics, we have always been keen to participate and respond because we strongly believe in parliamentary democracy, and I have personally never been against giving replies, and sometimes I probably do it a bit more than what is expected of me because I go to the extent of trying to answer every point raised, which sometimes can mean a longer session, sitting and hearing more of the minister's reply. But let me assure this House that debates are definitely something which we respect and want to participate, and I'm glad today that we've had this debate, and I'm here to respond to what the members have spoken about. Many of our members seem to have heard what I have spoken in the Lok Sabha yesterday. So on many of the points, although they have been raised here, I would not elaborate too much. Of course, in honor of the member who's raised it, I will respond somewhat, but they have heard me on many of those issues in great detail, having spoken in the Lok Sabha, so I'll try to keep it crisp on some of these points. Sir, I started there, and I would like to start here as well to say that Indian economy, compared to the situation prevailing in many of our peer groups and compared to the situation in many of the developed economies, is definitely much better. But that does not mean that we are running away from saying, because, like some of the members have said, imported inflation, and because of the imported supply chain related problems and global commodity prices, we are being impacted. These are realities, and we are here to answer and discuss on them. Nobody is saying, or nobody is in a denial about price rise. I mean, even Professor Ram Gopal Verma spoke, and he's not here now, but Ram Gopal Yadav ji, sorry, thank you for correcting me. He said, no, धरातल में जाकर देखिए, numbers नहीं, numbers भी देखेंगे, धरातल में क्या हो रही है वो भी देखेंगे, हम भाग नहीं रहे। और ये भी सच्चाई है कि numbers के मुताबिक भी हमारे inflation rate का एक बैंड रहता है, 4 is the median point, -2 or +2 is what is normally accommodated. And we are at 7 with some effort. Or it can be slightly more than 7, but we have made sure that the Reserve Bank and the government put together are taking enough steps to make sure that it is kept at 7 or below, ideally below 6, the band. So nobody is denying. And therefore, when we say, look at the world where some countries are experiencing inflation which they have not seen in 40 years, 35 years, 27 years, it doesn't mean that we are saying there's no inflation in this country. So, it becomes very, very haranguing. That's not to say about you. If the debate constantly is only attributing things which we have not even said. So let's please, both on data and on Dharatal, thank you very much, Professor Ram Gopal Yadav, constant interaction with people who are affected is giving us inputs, and based on which we are having a targeted approach from the pandemic until today when the recovery is going on. And through the targeted approach, we are reaching sections which so desperately need that help. Of course, yes, you can do a lot more. Nobody's denying that. But that doesn't mean we are saying, no, we won't do anything at all. And also this very impressive narrative which can go on, oh, you've collected so much from the fuel excise duty and the cesses, and you're sitting with it, and the poor person is not being given any help. I'm sorry. I will list out, and I will definitely list out what for the poor person even today we are doing, and we love to do more. That's not to say, oh, you gave 50 people, you don't want to give the 51st. No, we will give. But to think and attribute to us that you're not doing anything for the poor, I'm sorry. And approach that, you have never done anything for the poor, you are always for Adanis and Ambanis. I'm sorry, I'm compelled to take the names here. Is absolutely politicizing a debate which is so necessary for the country. So necessary for the country because all of us together, some of us in our states, some of us as members of parliament in our respective constituencies, are working to make sure that the poor's voice is heard. We are trying to reach out. Some of the schemes which don't go down to the ground, we are making sure that is given to them. Each one of us are contributing in this recovery process. And this recovery process is not purely on economic recovery, also because of the pandemic. And I'm glad the health minister is also here about the efforts taken for vaccination, which is so critical for the economy as well. Every member has been keen to know about it, and we've been constantly giving data to prove that everybody is in it so that the economic recovery can happen. So I appeal to the August House that we speak both on facts and on the daratal. It's not as if we are only throwing data at people. In fact, most of the times we are accused of giving data which is not right. So I'm definitely emphasizing that comparing with many of our peer group nations, emerging economies, or even looking at some of the advanced economies, India's position. Let's be somewhat comforted by the fact that our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong. It's all very well for us to be told, no, you should do some more here, some more there. But if you're denying that the macroeconomic fundamentals are not strong, I'm sorry, you're not going to be taken seriously. Not by me, I will take you seriously. You're a member of parliament, I'll honor you. But let's talk on what's actual and not what is generated, I don't know by who. So with that, I just want to highlight one of the points which is important, because we have a temptation to compare, and that's not wrong. Please do compare with our neighbors, with economies which we thought are better than us. Probably they were, and you wanted to tell us that they are better and why are we not. All that is fine. But please don't forget that today, the very same economies which were quoted to us, saying they are doing much better, India is not, because their policies are a lot more friendly for industry. I'm sorry. I'm not reveling in countries which are suffering today. I honestly do want every one of our neighbors, some of whose name I'll take here, to be better off, to be able to perform well. But today's situation, the reality is that some of these countries which have been quoted to us earlier, for one index or the other index, they are better than us, you're not. Look at the reality, please, honorable members. Bangladesh, about which we are periodically quoted. And we have great friendly relations with Bangladesh, and I'm happy for it. And there was a time when we were quoted repeatedly saying Bangladesh is doing well, you're not. But even on a parliament question reply on 1st August yesterday, I have given the data of what is the comparison which has got to be there. I just want to read it out. The per capita GDP at PPP in 2013 of Bangladesh was 3,143 international dollar, as they say it, but it is US dollar. But the same 2013 India per capita GDP PPP was 5057. 3143 versus 5057. And in 2021, sir, when we are repeatedly reminded saying, you know, Bangladesh is doing it. Even if they do well, very well. But I want to give you the number. In 2021, Bangladesh per capita GDP at PPP is 6613, whereas ours is 7334. So please do quote, but quote with facts. And the same Bangladesh today, and again I'm underlining this point, I'm not quoting miseries here, but because repeatedly we have been told, oh, you're next Sri Lanka. Oh, you're not anywhere near Bangladesh, but please, let's understand the whole story everywhere. Bangladesh today is seeking from IMF 4.5 billion because they have balance of payment problems. And when I say when our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong, please, let's recognize that our macroeconomic fundamentals are strong. Sri Lanka, of course, is asking for 3.5 billion to the IMF. Pakistan in total is asking in different stages for 7 billion from the IMF. There are times when we have also been told, oh, in India, the petrol price per litre is this, but look at our neighbor Pakistan, look at our neighbor Sri Lanka. That's the rate, they are far lower than you. Let's consider it in a holistic way rather than piecemeal saying you are this, we are that, they are there. No. Today's economic distress throughout the world being what it is, let's look at it holistically rather than just throwing one astra here so that, good, I've done my job. No, please. This is a very serious business. And all of us are honestly members of this house who will have to look at very seriously what kind of things can be done so further we are able to improve the lot of our people. Now I go to specific points raised by honorable members because I would like to answer them. I'm not going to get into greater details of other things which govern the macroeconomic situation. The first speaker, Elamaram Karimji, had raised few things which I think were not based on facts. I would want to correct them. He spoke about bank checks. I would like to say there is no GST on withdrawal of cash from bank. There's no GST, please. And today on very many things I will say there is no this, no that. On the GST, sir, because the more I listen, I'm worried that I'm coming, one after the other. More I listen to issues related to GST, I have a concern that probably information is not reaching, the right information is not reaching, and as a result there's quite a lot of misconception, and I would today attempt to clear some of these misconceptions. So that was, first of all, no GST on withdrawal. Specifically on the checkbooks. GST has been imposed on the bank checkbooks when banks buy it from the printers of the checkbooks, because banks will have to buy it in bulk. And from them, when they obtain it, because banks don't print their checkbooks, they buy it and from the printers, and the printers, after all for the paper, after all for the machine, after all for many other things that they have, and the services that they are paying GST for those inputs with which they manufacture the checkbook and supply to the banks. So for them, there is a tax GST because they already are paying input tax for many of these items. So the stream till the consumer, because it's a consumption-based tax, will have to keep settling tax dues at every level. So that is what is before you, Honorable Member Karim. So I want you to kindly take into cognizance that as regards the consumer or the bank client who takes the money, withdraws the money, there is no charge on him. It is a bank which purchases from the printer for whom there is a GST. Otherwise, the bank will end up having to the printer will end up with, at a lesser cost he gives the banks, and the input tax credits will get accumulated. And I elaborate on the fact that the bank, when you go withdraw cash, 5 free transactions from your own bank's ATM and 5 from an ATM of a different bank you can draw without any charge. They are free transactions, so 10 in total. And in 3 banks, I think transactions are limited to 3 and not 5 because in 6 metro cities there are difficulties, and instead of 5 they give for 3. However, for small, no frills, basic saving bank deposit accounts, which are what the common small and middle class families use, they are still permitted to 5 free transactions even in metro cities. So 5 plus 5, 10 transactions in a month is totally free when you draw it from your ATM. So let's please not be led by misinformation. And then banks may provide more if they choose to, because RBI has not asked them to contain it at that. If you want, you can do more. So that is about bank and withdrawals. Again, an issue which I may periodically now and a bit later also elaborate about the pre-packaged item. I hesitate to have to say something here. GST Council has members, ministers from every state. They are not alone when they are inside the GST Council. They sit with their officers as well. So it's not as if it's possible for anyone to say something about some other state outside and get away with it, because they are with their officers. If not the minister himself, the officers also know it. And as regards the latest, the 47th meeting which was held in Chandigarh, it's a matter of record that all states agreed to the proposal. I put it on record. And if there have been private conversations with some ministers, I recognize the private conversation, madam. Rajnitai, I would like to particularly tell you, private conversations can be anything. The minutes, the oral recordings, all stand testimony that there was not one person who spoke against. And this is my word, you may not trust me, but I have the responsibility as the chairperson of the GST Council to put the facts on record in this August House. Not one spoke against, and I repeat, not one spoke against. So there was not even a single disagreement for the decisions which were taken, and I'm glad Sushil Modi ji spoke about it elaborately, to the extent that some of the members thought, oh, the minister's reply is being given by him. He is a very old hand in the GST. He has been there before the GST Council was formed, in the Empowerment Committee, empowered group of ministers, which prior to GST drew the entire framework. And I do not derive any pleasure by saying something which is not true. You can always pull me up later. My credibility will be gone to the bins. Why would I want to do it? And if ministers who had agreed and who later do not want to stand up and say, look, I agreed, I can't hold them responsible. Bhaiya, you were there, why don't you want to say? I will not ask them. In the council, what happened is what is on record, and about that, if there are speculations, it's my duty to answer it. And that's what I'm doing. I repeat, 47th council meeting in Chandigarh, where after a 3-layer process, the fitment committee, and I'll go to the details to tell you who were the members in the fitment committee. And post that, a group of ministers. I'll tell you who were the members of the group of ministers, not just my BJP compatriots. Ministers from all different states were in this group, some others were in this group, and post that, it comes to the GST Council. And why has this correction become necessary? Then and now, the poor's consumption of any of these are not being taxed even now. Even now they are exempted. And when in 2018, the branded people, some of them who were not registered as brand but unregistered, were also given the exemption. There was a thorough, rampant misuse. Because those who were given exemption, not so registered branded people, were all right getting the exemption. But those who were registered and high-value brands were given a choice, saying if you disclaim your registration of the patent or your copyright or your brand, you also become one of those brand but not registered. Blatant misuse happened. And this from 2019 has been worrying the GST Council. Every meeting this was discussed, and there were amounts also looked at as to what this misuse is leading to. And in its wisdom, therefore, the council said, we'll have to work out some way in which the poor continue to get theirs without GST, but the brand and unbranded, which is happening, will have to be dealt with. And therefore, what we've done now is this continues for the poor. They're not being taxed. The exemption continues on rice, puffed rice, dahi, chawal, lassi, whatever. It continues. What's now, the exemption has been withdrawn, is on the pre-packed. Even now, when a trader who is dealing with small customers has to sell in loose, he has to buy his product from somewhere. So when he buys in bulk, gets it packed up there and then brings it to his shop, he's not being taxed even now. He can get his 25 kg, 30 kg, come here to his shop and sell to the poor without GST. So the council, and I take extreme, I think it's my duty, and I take extreme pride to say that the council has applied its mind at various levels, at the fitment committee level, group of ministers level, and then the GST council level, that the continuation of the exemption for the sake of the poor continues. And the misuse which was happening from the branded ones, particularly those which are registered brands, had to be corrected. That's what has happened. Madam Karimji also was worried that we are dealing with diamonds so kindly. You're taxing them very less. Food products are being taxed at 5. Karimji, at the time when GST was brought in, elaborate discussions took place about diamonds, because in this country, 96% of all imported diamonds were coming, cut, polish, some jewelry, value addition work, get exported. 96% of all rough diamonds which are brought into this country are exported. So obviously, you don't export your taxes. Any export item does not bear the domestic tax. And therefore, earlier where it was 3%, then there were quite a lot of demands from those, and it is a labor-intensive industry. Therefore, a lot of input tax credits were getting accumulated, and because they're selling it with no tax or some percentage of tax, it wasn't benefiting. Therefore, in order that ITC, input tax credit claims, can be sorted out, studies were done on it, and post that the council took the decision to keep the tax where it is. So that is not a favor done to diamonds. It is more the industry and the workers who are all there, and as a result of which, and because 96% gets exported, that rate has been fixed. Honorable Member Karim also said, since independence, if I'm able to recall his words, since independence, there's never been a tax imposed on cereals and food products. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm sorry, no. I need to put the facts before you. Prior to GST, the VAT rates on pulses, dal, wheat, rice, flour, atta, maida, suji, rava, besan, paneer, curd, lassi, buttermilk, by states, I have it here. Every state in some or the other item has imposed a VAT. So since from independence, nobody taxed on cereals. No, sir. No. Since you're from Kerala, I'll quote that example first and I read out the others later. In Kerala, pulses before GST was taxed 1%. In Kerala, atta, maida, 5%. Suji, rava, 5%. Besan, 5%. Taxed. So, it's fine. We may probably not have the necessary information in our hand, but every state had one or the other tax on all these items, which today have become the GST-related curse. No, sir. In fact, therefore, there are some states, Jharkhand, for instance, 5% on dal, 5.5 wheat, 5.5 rice, 5.5 maida, suji, rava, 5.5, 5.5 besan, paneer, 5.5. Maharashtra had it even on lassi, curd, buttermilk, 6%. Ma'am, I'm not quoting Maharashtra to, for you to raise up for a point of order. No, with due respect, I'm saying Maharashtra prior to GST taxed lassi, taxed chas, taxed buttermilk, curd at 6%, madam. So, paneer was taxed at 6% as well in Maharashtra. So, it's very well for us to very quickly say, no, this has never happened. West Bengal taxed paneer 5% pre-GST.
Sir, point of order.
So,
No point. Mr. Derek, it is just to disturb. No. Please. There is no point. You listen to her first. Let her make her statement. No, not in between. You are not supposed to disturb the minister while she is replying. Don't disturb.
Why should I disturb?
No, you are disturbing
No,
in
I
her
only asked
reply.
for a point of order. Why
No,
you say
I am not allowed.
Sir,
Please be
I'm not
seated.
disturbing. I sit down.
Please.
I'm not allowed point of order.
Yes, Madam.
Sir, is this a classroom? I sit down.
Once the minister's reply is over,
Sir, we are not here. I've asked for a point of order. Because she mentioned West Bengal and paneer, I asked for a point of order. If you think we are a classroom sitting here with students, on this we walk out. You don't want to give us a chance to even express ourselves. No, sir.
Sir, it is extremely unfortunate. It is extremely unfortunate, and this has exposed the Trinamool Congress and my esteemed colleague, the leader of the Trinamool Congress, Mr. Derek O'Brien. stands exposed today in this house. They never wanted the debate in the first place. We have been repeatedly saying they are running away from the debate. We have listened, the Honorable FM, as she has just recovered from COVID. After that, she has sat 5 hours and listened to every honorable member, made copious notes. She is addressing each member's concerns very elaborately. And despite such an exhaustive and very, very articulate response to everybody's issues, if the honorable member wants to find an excuse to walk out, I think it is very, very sad. It only shows that they are getting exposed. They are getting exposed for their failure to take effective measures.
Honorable Minister, please continue.
So I won't elaborate on each of the states, sir, but the matter of fact is some states or some other states, or in fact all states in some item or the other, pre-GST had a tax, had a VAT in every one of these items, which we today feel outraged. How did the GST Council do? The GST Council has not done anything. No new tax has been levied. But those who had exemption and those who were misusing it have now been told no more exemption for you if you're branded. So pre-packed for the poor, which comes, and that which is being bought in loose is still under exemption. With that, I will not elaborate further. But there were concerns about hospital beds. I would like to highlight again, this is as a result of a misunderstanding. I would like to clear this misunderstanding. The GST Council recommended that hospital room rent, no bed, no ICU. ICU is not being charged at all. It does not impact emergency services. It does not impact ICU. But if you are taking a room in a hospital, which is more than 5,000 rupees per day, it is only for that class, 5,000 and above, that 5% tax is being levied. 5,000 and lower, there is no tax if you're taking a room with treatment being offered for you. So, again, a misunderstanding which I'd like to be clear on. I want to tell, no, sorry, that is also not right. Again, with a lot of cynicism, the council is accused of having levied charges on crematoriums. You're going to, bury your dead, and you're being charged? No. Please put in a minute more to read what actually the council has said. I'm extremely proud, sir, of the way in which the council functions. The ministers apply a lot of their mind. The fitment committee does its business. At every layer, the legal committee looks into the legality of everything. And post that the issues come to the council, and even there, they think about whether it's right time, should we do it later, what is the loss if we do it tomorrow, what is the loss if we hadn't done it at all. Everything is discussed. To suddenly make a picture of the GST Council as though it is sitting mindlessly and just goes about wanting to earn more. No, please. They are also people coming from the ground. After all, they belong to all our parties. They know what is the ground. They come back to say what they want. And there is no maniacal wanting to earn more revenue. It is more reasonably addressing issues, but addressing nevertheless. So crematorium, sir, Honorable Member Karim, there is no GST on crematorium, funeral, burial or mortuary services. कोई इसके ऊपर टैक्स नहीं है, मगर क्योंकि वो सब एग्जेम्प्ट है, मगर कोई एक नया क्रिमेटोरियम बनाना चाहता है, उसके लिए इलेक्ट्रिकल वाटर इंसिनरेटर ले आ रहा, कुछ और बना रहा, वो सब के लिए वो टैक्स पे करके वो ले आता है इंस्टॉल करने के लिए. He buys these huge incinerators, also builds it with materials for which he pays tax. And when he comes here to build it, he's already paid the tax. How will he retrieve it unless he's got? So the construction of crematorium is what is being taxed. And it is not as though the services, you go to bury a dead, you're being taxed. No. let's please understand how the economics of taxation works. Yes, it is important for being conscious that we don't hurt a poor consumer. But it doesn't mean that we break the taxation chain and disrupt the whole GST framework. And also even now we say, oh, no, GST is a failure. Not at all. I actually want to highlight this, and I shall do it, that after the introduction of GST, today I heard a lot of this, Grihani, Grahast. Oh, GST Council is also conscious of Grihanis. GST Council is also conscious of households. I will read out a list as to what the taxation on Grihanis was before the GST was introduced. Derek O'Brien is not here. He listed out 6 things and said, Minister is not here, come. I wanted to come and reply. I'm ready to reply. He is not here. I will read it out, but. So, Honorable Member Karim, I want you to be sure that the crematorium matter be settled. It is not as though. Now, before I just want to be sure that the point on the GST decision-making process is understood, I want to tell honorable members as to who were in the fitment committee. The fitment committee consists of top commissioner level officers from Rajasthan, West Bengal, sorry, I've misplaced a paper, but I will read it. I'll get the details. Okay? That is at the fitment committee level. After that comes the group of ministers. Who are the group of ministers in this? West Bengal, Rajasthan, Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, Goa, Bihar. They have considered the decision given by the fitment committee. And after that it went over again to the group of ministers which is looking at rationalization of rates, looking at the correction of inverted duty structure in the taxation, where you pay higher tax when you're buying the raw material but pay lower tax when you're selling the product. For that also a group of ministers which is headed by the Chief Minister of Karnataka. And in that too, who are the ministers again? Punjab, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Kerala. All of them agreed. All of them agreed, sir. And agreed without any difference. So I want this to be laid as a matter of fact. There were concerns about portion, nutrition, and also about how reduction in malnutrition and issues like that. Between 1516 and 1921, child stunting has been reduced from 38.4 to 35.5 in percentages. Child wasting 21 to 19.3%. Underweight children 35.8 to 31.1. Malnutrition in women, that is between 18 and 49 years, 22.9 to 18.7. And I'm happy to say, Health Minister is here, former Health Minister is here. Institutional births in rural areas, which is very important for the maternal health, has increased. It was 75.1 in 15-16 percentage, 75.1 percentage. It's today at 86.7%. Also, the cost of medicines, cost of people not being able to purchase medicine. I want to say I'm very glad. I very closely follow Health Minister Dr. Mandavya's Jan Aushadhi Kendras. We every now and then talk about it. The price of Jan Aushadhi medicines. The price of Jan Aushadhi medicines is cheaper at least by 50% and in some cases by 80% to 90% of the market price of branded medicine. The same branded medicine and what is available as a generic medicine here in Jan Aushadhi Kendra, 90%, 80%, and such differences. So I want that to be appreciated, that the Jan Aushadhi Kendra as a mission has succeeded in reaching medicines at affordable prices to the poor and the needy. And that is a big success. I credit the one former and current health ministers who are here. In the last 8 years, starting from the annual turnover of 8 crores in a year, 2014-15, highest monthly sales turnover of 100 crore has been achieved in this. And therefore, this is something which I want you to take into cognizance. I want Kerala to have a lot more Jan Aushadhi Kendras so that your people in Kerala can benefit by affordable medicines. More than 3.28 crore persons have been treated free of cost because there was this concern, cash has to be paid, they can't afford it. Ayushman Bharat has given this facility of being treated free of cost. As on 7th April, I'm giving you the data, 3.28 crore persons have benefited from it, and 18 crore Ayushman cards have been issued. So the care of the poor is being fully kept in mind. Honorable Member Shakti Singh Gohil, he's here, and very many other members spoke about how Ujjwala is really not making a difference. You spread it, but then we all gave up. But then today there is a problem. I just want to highlight that as of May 21st, when we announced the excise duty cut, we agreed and we announced that 200 per gas cylinder, up to 12 cylinders will be given to over 9 crore beneficiaries of Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. We have not forgotten them. But the cost of the gas, LPG, is not in our hands. If we are importing it and if the prices are going up, obviously we'll have to make sure that the poor get it at a concessional rate. We are giving 200 per cylinder, and not for 1, 2, 12 cylinders are being given that subsidy. It must be noted that between 2014, actually in 2014, there were only 16.8 crore LPG connections. It is today in 2022, 30.5 crore people benefiting from Ujjwala. The tomato, onions and potato scheme has been easy target of a lot of people saying nothing has made a difference in it. You announced it, Prime Minister Modi said it, but nothing. No, but I would want to just highlight what it is about. Actually, I'll start from over the span of less than 5 years under UPA 2, from May 2009 to November 2013. The average price of various food commodities were in triple digits, not double. Some of them went up that much. And I'm not exaggerating. Potato, onion, tomato, the increase in average price over this period, 2009 to 2013, was shockingly at 164% for potato, 323% for onion, and 160% for tomatoes. So that's the kind of increase in price happened during UPA 2. And today with top scheme, we are able to get more of these perishable goods to the market, give them capacities to store, and as a result of which, the prices have been held reasonably. In fact, in November 2013, sir, the price of onion had touched 100 rupees a kg in certain centers. Some of them, sir, you're from Assam, you'll know in places like Aizawl, it was already 100 rupees or more at that time. and tomato was costing 80. I'm glad that Rajni Tai remembered my exchange about onions in the Lok Sabha. Whether I eat or not Tai, we work to make sure that it is affordably available for everybody. So it doesn't matter whether I'm an onion eater or not. And all of us rejoiced at a minister being bullied, saying, oh, she doesn't eat onion, so she doesn't care for the poor who need to eat. Well, not just me. Prime Minister also has a concern, and that's why the top scheme succeeded. That I would like to quote that between the last month and this month, the reduction in the price, whereas what it was between 9 and 13, in 2009, May 1st, potato was 9 rupees. Whereas November 22, 2013, it was 26 rupees. Whereas what we have on July 29 is 26 only. We've contained the prices. Onions were 52.98 in 2013. It is 25.45 today, in July, on 29th July. Tomatoes, 46 rupees in November 2013. Today it is at 34. So, one of the things which we like everyone to take into cognizance, there were detailed questions about groundnut oil, mustard oil, vanaspati. I have data, I don't want to read it here, but proving that we are holding the prices carefully. And in the process, I'm not sure, one of the honorable members did ask, what is happening? The area under cultivation, I think it was one member from Telangana, area under cultivation of rice is going down, and area under cultivation of wheat, and then the export which was going, you halted it. There is a group of ministers headed by the Honorable Home Minister, which periodically reviews the Commerce and Industry Minister, Food Consumer Affairs Minister, Leader of the House here, is also a member of that committee, of the group. We periodically review the availability of cereals, pulses, dalhan, tilhan, and also the crop sowing area, acreage under cultivation, and take calls accordingly. So it's not left high and dry. The government is looking at it because these are essential and we need to do something about it. So vulnerable sections of the society, because I would want to quote from Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyaya, who's our ideologue, from whom we derive a lot of inspiration. He said, and I quote, "It is our thinking and principle that these uneducated and poor people are our gods. We have to worship them. It is our social and human dharma." That's what he said. And the Antyodaya which we practice is derived from that. And as a result, you will find that, let me list out some of the specific action. Poor. Huh? Sorry? The poor. Huh?
Mr. Binay Bishop,
What is it?
Binay Bishop, not now.
I'll give you the data of what we're doing with farmers, sir. PM Ujjwala, I've already said, sir, 2014, 16.8 crores. Today it is 30.5 crores. Since we had Honorable Member Binay Vishwam talking about farmers, in 2014, there was no Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, but in 2022, we've already deposited 12.5 crores of plus number of farmers, 6,000 a year for each one of them. 12.5 crore plus farmers have received 6,000 each into their account per year. So we are looking at farmers and taking care of them. Jal Jeevan Mission, sir. In 2019, there were only 3.2 households, 3.2 crore households. Now, getting piped water, 9.6 crore households get piped water. Taking care of the poor actually, not just throwing some money and saying, दे दिया poor के लिए पैसा. नहीं, सचमुच पानी जा रहे उनके घर में नल के द्वारा. 9.6 crore households. Sir, street vendors, PM Swanidhi Yojana, 2014, there was no scheme. 2022, 29 lakh plus get loans for under the PM Swanidhi so that they can do affordable loans so that they can do their own work. But otherwise, they don't have to give security. Without security, they get it. Ayushman Bharat, I've already said. Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, 3.28 crores get free treatment. So let's please, I know member Sanjay Singh, he's not here. He was talking about poor ke liye, garib. We are attending to garib. In reality, as to what they need in their house is reaching them. Tiruchi Shivaji also mentioned some of these, garib ke liye kya hai. One point on which member Ranjan also speak. Ranjanji also spoke about. So you've given Ujjwala cylinders, but what's the use? The price is going up. And I've already told you that we've given for up to 12 cylinders in a year, 200 rupees each cylinder. But there is an important data I would like to highlight here. LPG coverage, sir, is defined as ratio of the active consumers to the total households which are getting covered. That has increased from 61.9% in 2016 to 102.2% in November of 2021. That's not possible unless people are having their refills made periodically. So it's not true that people are not coming for refills. Yes, the price has gone up. It is not in our hands, but still we are giving 200 rupees per cylinder for people so that they don't, that may not be sufficient. You can ask me to give them totally free the cylinder. They may deserve it, but I'll also have to consider how many people I can afford to give and so on. So,
You are covered already.
Amount has been reduced yesterday in the house.
Amount is reduced to now only 242 crore is the subsidy amount.
से पूछना चाहती हूँ, सूचना के अधिकार के तहत नीमच के चंद्रशेखर गौड़ ने जो आंकड़े जुटाए हैं, उसके तहत 2021-22 में इंडियन ऑयल कॉरपोरेशन 2.8 करोड़ ग्राहकों ने एक भी रिफिल नहीं कराया, 62.1 लाख ग्राहकों ने सिर्फ एक बार रिफिल कराया। हिंदुस्तान पेट्रोलियम कॉरपोरेशन 49.44 लाख लोगों ने एक भी गैस साल में रिफिल नहीं कराया, 33.58 लाख ने सिर्फ एक बार कराया। बोलूं भारत पेट्रोलियम कॉरपोरेशन 2021-22 30.10 लाख ग्राहकों ने एक बार रिफिल कराया, 24.60 लाख ने एक भी नहीं कराया। सर क्या बात है सर? 3.59 करोड़ साल भर में मात्र एक सिलेंडर भराया और 1.20 करोड़ ने सिर्फ एक भराया। इसके अकॉर्डिंग उज्ज्वला योजना के लाभार्थियों की संख्या में शामिल पिछले एक साल में 4.49 करोड़ ग्राहकों ने एक बार भी सिलेंडर नहीं भराया और 2.2 करोड़ ने सिर्फ एक बार। इट मीन टोटल।
एक मिनट मैं जरूर आंसर दूंगी रंजीत रंजन जी। ऑनरेबल मेंबर रंजीत रंजन जी को चेयरमैन साहब आपके द्वारा आंसर देना चाहती हूं। सरकार बजट के द्वारा जब ये प्रोविजन करके घोषणा भी करती है और ये सब रेट पब्लिक में अवेलेबल है, ऑनरेबल मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट उनके अपने क्षेत्र में जा करके गरीब के लिए ये सब्सिडी दिलवाए। उनके अपने कर्तव्य है जो सरकार के द्वारा। No, I'm sorry. You cannot ask me to give an answer you want. I will give an answer having heard you.
It cannot be.
ये क्या है सर?
Continuous. Please back down. Sir.
This is no way.
Nothing will go on record. Minister saying this without my permission.
So I'm not yielding now, sir.
Nothing will go wrong.
I'm not yielding now, sir. I sat down. आप सुन लीजिए जरा प्लीज, हाथ जोड़ करके मैं बोल रही हूँ, सुन लीजिए प्लीज।
सुन लीजिए, बैठिए।
Yeah, I'm not claiming it.
It cannot be a verbal duel. So keep patience. आपने जिसको जो पूछता था पूछ लिया, मिनिस्टर यील्ड किया, आप मिनिस्टर जवाब दे रहे हैं, आप बैठिए.
Sir,
Please.
I'm addressing you, sir. I sat down, heard every member, sometimes in this place or sometimes from my room. And even now, I sat down yielding to hear the honorable member. I heard the honorable member. And after which, I'm willing to give an answer. Maybe not the answer she would like, but I'm giving an answer. But not the answer that she wants, maybe, but that doesn't mean that this is not the way to give it. That's the answer I can give. You like it or you don't like it. With your permission, I've sat down, I've heard, and I'm also. And what is this? Constantly the minister will have to be listening. I am listening. But when I stand up to answer, there is interruption, there's running commentary, there is dictation. No, not that way. Sorry, sir. I'm willing to hear. I'm willing to sit and hear interruptions. I yield. And after that, I certainly give a reply. And I would think you would give me that, duty that I'm performing a chance.
Yes, definitely.
Please. No. Sir, there's also been a lot of question about, the center is collecting a lot of cess. Center is collecting a lot of cess. Before I go to that, sir, Honorable Member Derek O'Brien is not here, but he did raise something very interesting, saying families, when they think of the morning, the kind of things that they do, they buy toothpaste at this rate. When they go out, they have to get a cylinder and come. I just want to draw his attention, sir, to domestic, that grihani, grihastha, unka dhyan mein rakhte hue, pre-GST rate. Huh? Of course, sir. Madam, I fully know. I am purposely using it. I am also a grihini and I use the word grihini, and I am using the grihini because I have been told repeatedly, grihini ke daan rakho, main grihini hoon. So, I hope you will not have an objection, sir.
ये आपने बोला, अब सुनने का समर्थ रखिए. Please.
That's my style of speaking, madam. I may not speak like Rajani sweetly, but also keep saying things which have been already answered. My nature is different. I'm sorry, all of us are made of different stuff. You may have to put up with it. We are made of different stuff. Sir, Derek had raised this issue about how families have a worry. I just want to say GST has not increased the burden on families. And this I'm saying because the rates on some of the items before GST was far higher. And let me list out. Tooth powder, 17% pre-GST, now it's 12%. Hair oil, 29.3% pre-GST, 18% under GST. Toothpaste, 29.3 pre-GST, 18 under GST. Soap, 29.3 under pre-GST, 18% under GST. Footwear, which is more than 1,000 rupees, 21%, GST is 18%. Paints, because I heard Honorable Member Jayant Chowdhury say we probably talk about tomatoes, potatoes, onions only, but sarai, saria, cement, paints, sir, and varnishes, which are necessary for the ordinary citizen to, make his house up. 31.3% pre-GST. It's 18% now, sir. Sugar, which आम घर में उपयोग में आता है, 6% pre-GST, now it's 5%. Sweetmeats, मिठाई, दुकान से जो तो लेते हैं 7%, 5% now in GST, 7 under pre-GST. Washing machines, which has now become a common household thing, everybody wants some model or the other, 31.3% pre-GST, 18% now. Vacuum cleaners, 31.3%, 18% now. Televisions up to the size of 32 inches, 31.3, now it's 18%. LPG stove, 21%, pre-GST, 18%. LED lamps, which Piyush ji as minister propagated that people should have LED lamps in their houses, 15% under pre-GST, GST is 12. Kerosene pressure lantern, which for emergency we use in poor households, which till today didn't receive electricity, 8% before, 5% now. So, Derek O'Brien, families which want to buy things today are buying it at far lesser rate under the GST. Also, he's not here, I do not want to spend much time on it, but he also very simplistically, I'm not criticizing him, simplistically said US inflation is 9%, India's inflation is 7%. So actually speaking, Indian currency should be appreciating in value. Sir, the currency of a country does not get determined just by these one inflation there versus inflation here. There are so many other factors which go into the fixation of the value of a currency. He obviously talked about a few other things. I'm not getting into it. He said, but Raghuram Rajan, you quoted in Lok Sabha, but he's also said something more. Many other members also said. I've taken everything that Raghuram Rajan, former governor, as an economist said. Suppose he's given a political opinion. No, I've not referred to it. Let me be clear on that. So cess, sir, one quick word. Lot of concern has been expressed by a lot of members. What the center collects as cess and what it spends. I have said as a part of the question hour as to how we spend money collected under cess. Till now, for instance, between 2013-14, 14-15, 15-16, till 22-23 BE, 3.77 lakh crores of cess has been collected. 3.77 lakh crores. What actually has been utilized is 3.93 lakh crore. Utilized, meaning states have received it, they've started using it, they've spent it. 3.93. So nearly 20 lakh has been given, lakh crore has been given as extra. 3.77, 3.93. State receive the cess as and when. Center doesn't collect and sit with it, it goes to the states promptly, and sometimes much more than what has been collected goes to the states. This is something which I would like to say. With the collected cess, what do we do? Not my data, RBI's data shows very clearly the total developmental expenditure incurred by Modi government in 2014-22, between 14 and 22, was 90.9 lakh crores, far higher than what is being spoken about. In contrast, only 49.2 lakh crores were spent on this, meaning developmental expenditure, between 2004 and 14. So 10 years, 49.2 lakh, whereas between 14 and 22, 19.8 years, 90.9 lakhs is what we have spent on development. So cess collected goes to the state, development expenditure happens, that's the total we have spent. Expenditure incurred again by RBI, by Modi government on food, fuel and fertilizer subsidies. Honorable Member Sushil Modi spoke about how global fertilizer prices have costed us huge amounts in importing, but we have not passed that burden on to the farmer, and this is where the money is being spent. What is the amount? 24.85 lakh crores have been spent on food, fuel and fertilizer subsidies, and 26.3 lakh crores has been spent on capital creation, whereas 10 years of UPA saw only 13.9 lakh crore spent on subsidies of this nature. So cess collected, cess utilized. Has GST reduced the flow of resources to the states? I'll very quickly give a data which runs between 2015-16, before the introduction of GST, to today. Total flow of funds to the states have increased substantially, an average of 14.8%, approximately close to 15% during the first 5 years of GST, despite the pandemic. The pandemic has not reduced us. We've given what was expected to be given and given slightly more as well. Whereas the average growth before the introduction of GST was only 9%. So 9% before GST, and after that the states have received 14.8% average resource growth in the states. So no way cesses are growing, devolution is happening, GST revenues are reaching. So states, please, are receiving, and the misconception that cess is not being utilized by us for the state's benefit is not right. So I come to the last point of loan waivers and write-offs. Member Sanjay Singh had raised it. The confusion about write-offs are not waivers. Waivers are different, write-offs are different. This has been explained several times. But again, it's politically convenient, I suppose, to say, oh, you have written off, which means it's all waived off. If they are not waived off, the bank's balance sheet gets cleaned up, but the bank's duty, it remains. And I can say that in the parliament, I have answered questions about how much of Malaya's assets, Kingfisher Malaya's assets, have been brought back to the bank. How much of Nirav Modi's assets have been confiscated by the ED and given to the banks. So banks' dues are getting repaid. So write-off means that the bank's balance sheets are getting cleared, but the banks pursues, and all the securities which are lying with them are being legally auctioned, and the monies are being given back to the banks. So this...
No, let her reply. Let her reply be finished. No. Hey, this is not the way. This is not. I allowed you once, not all the time. It's not a verbal duel. It's not a running commentary. No, it's not a verbal. Please. Madam Minister, continue. Nothing on the call. Continue.
Last 2-3 points, sir. I'll finish with that. I know it's quite... I halted when I said the fitment committee, which is the first layer, and after that the GOM. The fitment committee, the paper was incomplete. Fitment committee, the states which were represented in the fitment committee: Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana, UP, Bihar, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka. So all of them were in the fitment committee. From there, the GOM, in which I read out the states which were represented. After that, the GOM, which is headed by the Chief Minister of Karnataka. After that, the GST Council. Nowhere was a difference of opinion. The last few points, sir. Honorable Member Vaiko is here. He had a concern about ICUs are also being charged. No charge on ICUs, sir. And GST has imposed taxation, and because of that, there's a lot of even those items which were under the 28% rate at the stage of introducing the GST, there were more than 229 items, all with 28% rate. Gradually, after the introduction, through various council meetings, that 229 has come down now to just 28 items which are in the 28% rate, which means items are being brought down from higher tax rates to lower tax rate. And therefore, I sequentially linked to Member Raghav Chadda, the new member, who said, obviously, they will not have any interest in bringing the GST corrections because it suits them. Because when the inflation is high, honorable members, do correct me if I've got him wrong. When the inflation is high, the same commodity is bought at a higher rate, and therefore the GST earned out of it will be far higher. And therefore the GST Council will not be in favor of reducing the rate. That was his case. I'm sorry, that is one economics which I'm learning today. If the rate is higher, people will stop buying it. If inflation is higher, consumption will come down, naturally my tax revenue will go down. Raghav Chadda ji, please, I want you to, okay? I want him to please, he's a young representative, new representative, partially throwing economics at people doesn't help. And it's also, let me please submit, demeaning a body like GST Council that they will not want to reduce. Their own Delhi finance minister and now their own Punjab finance minister is also there. Is he suggesting that their ministers will be happy if inflation goes up? That's wrong, sir. I don't want cynicism to govern us. We are all capable of doing better. So I think largely I have addressed most of the issues, sir. So thank you very much for having given me this opportunity.
Thank you, Minister. Message from